Hello everyone, it's that teacher here, and today's lesson is going to be on subtraction, level 4. Let's start learning. Let's begin our lesson on subtracting decimals, level 4. So, before we start, I would like to say a huge thank you to everyone who's recently subscribed to the channel. It's extremely motivating to see the subscriber count go up and up, and hopefully we can hit that milestone, that first milestone of 100 subscribers very soon. So until then, I'm going to keep producing this kind of content. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Let's start the lesson. Thank you again. So just to start, we have a definition. Subtracting decimals means finding the difference between decimal numbers and other numbers. So also, I've put a little riddle here before we get started. The riddle is all for the students here, just a little brain tease to start the lesson, get us thinking. So the riddle is, what becomes smaller when you turn it upside down? So I'm going to give you a clue here. It's a number, okay? So the answer is a number. So have a think. What becomes smaller when you turn it upside down? I'm going to show you the answer now. Pause it if you haven't. Have a little think, get your brain going. The answer to that is the number 9. So the number 9, when you turn it upside down, it actually becomes a number 6, which is a smaller number. So it's a little bit of a trick question there. But if anyone got that, I would be extremely impressed, because I don't think I could have got that without seeing the answer beforehand. So well done to everyone who got that riddle. Now, let's get started. Setting your numbers up in your books is extremely important, because I always tell my students that one of the key elements for success in maths is having neat numbers. Neat numbers, especially when you're learning different concepts, eliminates little silly mistakes which are avoidable, okay? So I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your numbers so that you don't make these completely avoidable mistakes, okay? Because if you have messy numbers, you might make silly mistakes. You might think, your 3 is an 8, or your 5 is an 8, or something like that. So keeping your numbers neat and tidy is extremely important. I'm going to show you how to set it up. So 533.26. Now that's the first number. Leave enough space in your workbooks, one number per box, and your decimal place goes right in between the lines like that, okay? One of the lines, one of your boxes. So the next number is, 533.26 subtract, so take away. But before we do that, we need to keep the decimal point in exactly the same place. So your second number is the exact same. It locks in the place values and ensures you make less silly mistakes, okay? So 533.26 take away 44.627. Now, as you can see, this question involves a thousandths. So the 7 there is in the thousandths column. Now, it's extremely important when you're subtracting numbers that you include zeros, because think of it like this. If I said to you, because we always start in the furthest column on the right, which in this case would be the thousandths column. If I said to you, hold up 0 fingers, now take away 7 of them, you couldn't do it. So if you didn't put that 0 there, some students in my class often say, 0 take away 7, that must be 7 because you're not taking away anything. No, so you need to subtract 7 from the top number. You're actually going negative if you don't borrow the number. So what you need to do here is don't set your numbers like this, okay? So before we go through the guided part of this, I wanted to show you if your numbers are like this, it's going to equal one answer, and that's a disaster. So this is how you need to set your numbers out, and the 2 zeros there. As I said before, it will stop you making silly mistakes and will it will show you exactly where you need to borrow, which I'm going to show you in this next guided example coming up right now. So 725.5 take away 32.127. Now, like I said, always include the zeros. Any box that doesn't have a 0, make sure you put a 0 there to make it even, so you can see 6 digits, take away 6 digits, okay? So we start in the furthest column on the right, which would be your right, which would be the thousandths column. You can see 0 take away 7. Now, if I told you, like I said before, hold up 0 fingers, take away 7, you couldn't do it, so you need to borrow. But you can see in the hundredths column, you can't actually borrow anything because there's nothing there. So this is a little tricky. This is what I'm saying. This level 4 gets a little bit trickier, but if you follow the processes and the systematic breakdown of the question, you can't go wrong. So go to the nearest column with value, which would be the tenths column. So you can see there's a 5 there. So we borrow 1 from the tenths column, changing it to a 4. Give that 1 to the next column next to it, which is the hundredths column. You can't jump columns to the thousandths. So you need to say 1 column at a time, moving to your right to borrow, okay? So now you have 10 in the hundredths column. You need to borrow 1 from that 10. So you cross out the 10 you just borrowed, change it to a 9, and give that 1 to the thousandths column. Now the question makes sense. 10 take away 7 is 3. 9 take away 2 is 7. 4 take away 1 is 3. Now you can see the decimal place there. It doesn't really matter in the actual working out of the question. Of course, it is extremely important to the answer and the original question. But while you're doing the subtraction, the method is the same whether the decimal place is there or not. So just keep doing one series of numbers, one column, one place value at a time. Once you're finished with that, move on to the next place value. So we're in the ones column, or in some countries, the units column. So 5 take away 2 would be 3. Now move to the next column, which is the tens. So 2 take away 3. You can't do that. Remember my little trick from a previous video? Hold up 2 fingers. Now take away 3. You can't do it, so you need to borrow. So borrowing 1 from the 7, which is in the hundreds column, making it a 6, giving it to the tens column. Now 12 take away 3 is 9. So you've got 1 column left, you've got 6 take away nothing, which is 6. So as you can see, if you work through each of the columns from right to left and borrow when you need to, especially when there's zeros there, it's quite an easy process, but you need to stick to that formula, take your time, write your numbers neatly, and you'll have a high level of success in these type of questions. So I'm going to give you another example and then it's going to be your turn. So 923.04 take away 332.825. Now, as I said before, make sure you add the 0. I've put the 0 in red to stress that you need to put a 0 there. If you don't put a 0 there, it just becomes a little bit more confusing. This method eliminates that. 6 digits, take away 6 digits. You can see it. But if you didn't put it there, you might get a little confused. What do I do with that? There's nothing above the number. So put the 0 there, you'll avoid confusion. So 0 take away 5. You need to borrow here because, like I said, hold up 0 fingers, take away 5 of them, you can't do it. So borrowing from the hundredths column, the 4 there, we're borrowing 1 from that, so we change it to a 3. Give the 1 to the thousandths column. Now, 10 take away 5 is 5. 3 take away 2 is 1. Now, we're on the next column, which is the tenths column. You can see a 0. You already know what to do. Whether or not the decimal place is there, doesn't matter. Pretend it's not there for the actual working out of the question. It doesn't matter. It of course matters in the answer and the question. However, when you're working it out, like I said in the previous one, it doesn't make a big difference, okay? So you just follow the same process of going place value to place value, column to column, right to left. So 0 take away 8, can't do it. Borrow from the ones column, make that a 2, give the 1 to the tenths column. Now 10 take away 8, makes sense, that's 2. So decimal points there, just move along, keep moving along. It's there, yes it's there, but it doesn't affect the process. 2 take away 2 is 0. 2 take away 3, you can't do it. Hold up 2 fingers, take away 3, can't do it. You need to borrow. Go to the hundreds column, borrow 1 from that 9, changing it to an 8, giving the 1 to the tens column. 12 take away 3 is 9, and 8 take away 3 is 5. So hopefully that method has given you a lot of confidence. Like I said, just follow the process, break it down, 1 column at a time. If you need to borrow, It's quite a simple process if you take it slow, your numbers are neat, and you follow the process that we put here. And you, of course, add those zeros. So hopefully that's helped. Now, these questions are going to be for you. When I show you the answers, I've worked it out for you, just so you can cross-reference with your own work. If you're at home, get a piece of paper. If you have a grid book, even better. If you don't have a grid book, just write the numbers neatly in lines, not lines, but place values, so you can see the number clearly on your paper and give yourself enough room to work out. So here's your questions. I'm going to show you your answers in a little minute now. So answers ahead. Like I said, thank you so much for subscribing. If you could continue to like and maybe throw in a few comments, it would be so exciting for me. So I'd like to say thank you again. It's so humbling to see 83 of you have subscribed. It's super exciting. Let's get on with the questions. So here is your answers. Now, like I said, the second question in purple, as you can see, there's a lot of borrowing from there. Now, if you can handle these questions, you can handle subtraction. Level 4 subtraction, if you can complete questions like this, you have learned what you need to in this type of subtraction, these type of questions. So I'd like to say well done for getting this far, especially if you understand the process and you can answer these questions, and even better if you got these questions correct. Well done. Thank you so much for coming to these lessons. We'll see you in the next lesson. We're starting multiplication in our next little series. So we'll see you then.